We are losing the biological capacity to reproduce. This is not a slow, generational evolutionary shift. Over just a few decades, the microscopic engines driving human fertility are grinding to a halt. This chart maps data by epidemiologists Shanna Swan and Hagai Levine. Since 1970, global sperm counts plummeted 50%, dropping 2.5% yearly. Extending this trend line forward points to a specific horizon. By 2045, the median male sperm count hits 0. Human biology is highly resilient, built with deep redundancies to ensure survival. We produce vastly more reproductive cells than required to conceive. Yet today, 17% of young couples require intensive medical intervention just to start a family. This collapse spans demographics and geography. It defies the standard explanations of daily stress or delaying parenthood. The data points directly to a systemic physical interference with human biology, a continuous chemical exposure pushing us toward a biological cliff. The primary drivers of this decline are endocrine-disrupting chemicals, or EDCs. These are synthetic compounds that infiltrate the body and hijack your internal communication system, the hormones that dictate growth, mood, and reproduction. EDCs act as biological imposters. They mimic estrogen, flooding the body with false signals that block natural hormones from doing their jobs. When this happens, male testosterone production crashes. If this exposure occurs in the womb during the first trimester, it permanently stunts a child's reproductive capacity before they are even born. Finding these chemicals does not require a trip to an industrial plant. Start in the bathroom. Many standard cosmetics, lotions, and shampoos rely on phthalates, a class of EDCs that absorb directly through the skin and enter the bloodstream. Move to the kitchen or the checkout counter. The plastic containers storing your food, the linings of canned goods, and even the thermal coating on your store receipts are loaded with bisphenols, like BPA and BPS. Check the non-stick frying pan on the stove or the waterproof rain jacket in the closet. These rely on PFAS, known as forever chemicals. They do not break down in nature, and they accumulate steadily in human blood over a lifetime. These compounds travel on microscopic plastic particles that infiltrate our deepest biological systems. Researchers have now found these shards physically embedded inside human placentas, breast milk, and in 100% of the testicular tissue samples tested. We have built our daily routines inside a toxic architecture. For the sake of cost and convenience, we surround ourselves with materials that treat our bodies as a chemical processing site. The exposure continues through the industrial food chain. Consider atrazine, the second most widely used herbicide in the United States, sprayed heavily on corn and sugarcane. In laboratory studies, exposure to atrazine chemically castrated male frogs, turning them into functional females. This infographic tracks what environmental groups call the dirty dozen. It highlights everyday produce, like strawberries, spinach, and apples, that carry the highest concentrations of agricultural pesticide residues, even after thorough washing. How governments respond to this data varies wildly. The European Union has reviewed the toxicity of personal care products and banned over 1,300 hazardous chemicals from cosmetics. The United States FDA has banned exactly 11. The gap widens in agriculture and food processing. The U.S. permits 85 different pesticides that are entirely outlawed in Europe, China, and Brazil. American shelves routinely feature dough conditioners like potassium bromate, a known carcinogen strictly banned for human consumption across most developed nations. Even basic infrastructure carries the load. Recent geological surveys show that at least 45% of all tap water in the United States is actively contaminated with the same PFAS forever chemicals linked to crashing sperm volumes. When regulatory agencies allow industrial speed and corporate yield to dictate safety standards, the environment becomes hostile to human biology. The burden of protection no longer sits with the state. It falls entirely on you. This graphic, mapping the transition from environmental toxins to vitality, forms the core of Juan Bosco Coelho da Silva's argument. His philosophy, detailed in Total Reboot, posits that true health is achieved by stripping away chemical noise and returning to natural rhythms. He built the Bahia Reboot health retreat in Brazil as a living application of this idea. By removing endocrine disruptors, processed foods, and artificial stressors, The retreat provides a clean ecosystem where the human body can physically reset. This data visualization maps the measurable biology of that reset. Researchers at Harvard and Mass General tracked couples struggling with fertility. When patients shifted their diets away from high-pesticide produce to clean, organic alternatives, their sperm counts doubled, and their rates of successful live births nearly doubled as well. This layout shows how clean environments extend to our buildings. Through Coastal Horizons Brazil, developers engineer sustainable communities protecting human health by design. Utilizing premium native hardwoods like angeline and macaranduba provides structural resilience without relying on synthetic treatments that off-gas harmful chemicals. This philosophy treats the human body and the natural ecosystem as a single circular system. Nutrients like vitamin B12 are technically soil-borne gifts produced by bacteria in healthy earth. When we degrade the soil with industrial chemicals, we sever our connection to those vital building blocks. We exist in a world optimized for speed and profit, sacrificing our biological foundations. You cannot control the global supply chain, but you can control your immediate surroundings. By consciously filtering out hidden toxins in your food, in your home, and your community, you can rewrite your physical programming and reclaim your vitality.